You're listening to the Mushroom Society series on the Coaching Coordinator podcast. What is the Mushroom Society? The Mushroom Society was established years ago by a group of professional offensive line coaches. The mushroom logo signifies the similarity between the O-line coach and the fungus. Both are kept in the dark and fed garbage, yet continue to flourish. Joining us all season long will be Bob Wylie, one of the original members of the Mushroom Society, and we hope to give you everything that you need to help your offensive line develop and you develop as a coach throughout this season. Here's this week's episode.
That's how they're going to get better, and then you're going to take that to the field. You know, I remember Coach Paul Brown used to say, gentlemen, you got to get it from the black to chalk. He's called the chalkboard. You got to get it from the chalkboard to the grass. You got to get it from the chalkboard to the grass. That's where it counts, on the grass. You got to be able to do that as a coach. Well, same thing with the players. The players have got to take it from the chalkboard and get it to the grass and make it work.
We're getting into, for college football, week 0 of the season. Some high school seasons have started already. I know Alaska started a while ago because they got to get done before it gets crazy cold there. But we're coming up on the season and getting into the full season for everybody. And today we're going to focus on that transition, though, from camp into the season. And I think some of the things we talk about here will matter whether you've just started or you're getting to start. Early season ideas and how you really transition your team into the season. And joining me to discuss this and put a focus on the offensive line side of things is Coach Bob Wylie. Coach, always great to talk ball with you.
Oh, I love it. I love it, Keith. I know it's wonderful to share ideas and information. So, you know, maybe somebody picks up one or two things that they can use or didn't understand and now know better, or just reinforce some of the stuff that they already do or have done.
It seems pretty basic, like, okay, the season's going to start and we're going to start our practices here. But there's a lot of considerations to make in moving from that period where the focus really was on learning and making sure they were getting their fundamentals square, and now really putting an opponent to it, putting this in context. We've got somebody here at the end of the week who's going to do certain things against us, and we have to prepare for that. So the focus does change in practice, the mentality changes, etc. So for you, coming out of a camp, heading into, you know, and for you, a lot of this has been at the professional level, so heading into that week 1, what are the main things you're looking at in a change up to your guys' routine that's going to set them up for success for the season?
Well, we try to flow into that as it gets towards the end of training camp. I mean, we start training camp and now we can go against the defense. Now we can hit people, you know what I mean, things you couldn't do in OTAs. You know what I mean? So now you're starting to put the technique and the stuff that you've learned in OTAs, and you're starting to use it against your defense. And then all of a sudden you come up on the first preseason game, and all you really do is you give the kids a list of plays and say, hey, these are the plays we're going to run. Because everybody's going to do something fundamentally sound. You just want the kids to play when we first start. There's not going to be any exotic blitzes you're trying to pick up or those type of things, okay? And then you get into the second week, and now you're going to give them a little bit more. Maybe you give them a few drawings, you know, but it's not a full game plan. I mean, now you're starting to make the cuts, so now the team's starting to get smaller. So now you're still going to prepare. You're going to go play another preseason game. It's not a full game plan. And then when they finally get down to the roster or very close to the roster, you used to have 4 preseason games. Now there's only 3. You're going to take one of those preseason weeks and you're going to put together a full game plan. You're going to have the cut-ups. You're going to have all the pitches drawn. You're going to have offensive and defensive meetings. You're going to have game plan meetings where you got a run team that puts together the run game plan. You got a pass team that puts together the pass game plan. Right? You got a protection team that does the protections and make sure everything starts to fit. They're going to write it up. They're going to put it in a book. They're going to put the tabs in there. They're going to put the personnel that you're going to see, any history they got on the personnel that they're playing against. I mean, it's going to be a full game plan because the practice is not only for the players. The players, you know what I mean, they're just coming to practice, okay? They're practicing the same plays probably that they've done all camp. But the thing is for the coaches. The coaches have to go through that process of putting a full game plan together. What we're going to put in it, how much we're going to give them, where's going to be the focus on formations this week and personnel changes, motion, shifts, those type of things that you've already taught the players, but now you're going to use them for real. So that all has to be discussed. It has to be talked about. It has to be written up, drawn. Now, some teams don't even use hard copies anymore. Some teams just they send it to their iPads and they study off of their iPads and stuff. I always like the hard copies because I like to write on it and stuff like that there. But however they do it to the players, they're putting together a full game plan. Right? They got to practice that. The players have to practice that because they're practicing now of what they're going to see for real from an opponent that, may be the first game of the season. It's the last preseason game, but they're doing everything for preparation-wise that they're going to do for the first game of the season. Now, I'm not saying the plays are going to be in it, right, but the concepts and the philosophy and the structure and the meeting times and everything they're going to do the next week for the first week of the season, they're doing it the week before that. Some teams do it 2 weeks before. I remember one time with Cleveland, we did full game plans. My first year there, we did full game plans for the preseason. All 4 games. Yeah. And we won all 4 games. We were 4-0. And we didn't win a game during the course of the season.
Preseason world champs that year, yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't really, the practice is good for the coaches to do that, but I don't think you needed to do it all 4 weeks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think the last week of the preseason is a time, maybe the second to the last week, you start the process, right? And then the last week of the game, you give them the full game plan, right? And then that kind of propels you into the first week of the season. Yeah. They know what time they have to come in. They know that the special teams are going to meet first. They know that there's going to be an offensive meeting and then a short special teams meeting early. And then that's going to lead into a team meeting. Then after the team meeting, there's a special teams meeting. And then if my guys were involved in a special teams meeting for field goal or something, it only took a few minutes, right? And then we left and we broke down to our position meetings. And then we started with the position meetings, giving them the game plan. Okay, these are the plays, guys. These are the fronts we're going to see. And this is how we're going to attack them. These are the things you need to know. These are the blitzes. This is how we're going to prepare to protect the quarterback. So that was all done. That whole process was really done the week before. You're just taking that process and you're carrying it over to the first week of the season against an opponent that counts.
Now, okay? Coach, I know
you want to go ahead.
Coach, I know you're working with a local team there, some high school coaches helping them out, helping them look at things. So, and I believe earlier this week you said they had a scrimmage, so they're not even into week 1 yet, but they're getting there. So how does this break down for them? How, from a high school coach perspective, guys who are probably teachers as well, and you don't have your players there all day, so you don't have necessarily all that time, but how are you going to get that practice as the coaches to do this, as well as how do you start transitioning your players into the season?
The preparation time for the coaches is about the same as the pro coaches.
Interesting.
But the meeting time with the players, that's where the difference comes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you can keep them on the field, like say 2.5 hours. That's just about the same time as the pro guys keep their players on the field. But what they don't have is they don't have the 2 or 3 hour meeting before they go to the field. And then they don't have the 1-2 hour meeting after practice to show them the practice for that day. So they have to fit all that stuff in the time that's allowed it to them, either before they go to practice or early in the morning.
Yeah.
Does that make sense to you guys?
A lot of those teams are going to, in their states who have the athletic periods, like Texas as an example, but there's a lot of states going to that where you have that time where the athletes either can do their workouts or you can meet with your team, go over what you need to. I mean, for a high school guy, and thinking back to my high school days, is always about where can you steal some of that time, right? When does that quarterback have study hall so you could spend 15 minutes with them and go over something, right? Or whatever it might be, looking for those common times. And you're right, it is the meeting time. That's the difference. And looking at things, and you have the ability, I know you stay involved with really all levels of football. The high school level, what things do you see that a lot of coaches just don't take advantage of, whether it's something in their game planning, something in how they're drilling their players, and again, we're talking specifically offensive line, things that just take a little bit more in the thought process maybe of the coach to be able to have an advantage there, because they're not taking advantage of everything they can.
I think the kids, or I call them, they're our kids, right? I don't think they know how to study film and look at film, and I don't think that they get to see enough film with their coach to understand exactly. They're trying to look at film by themselves and put it together, and they're only 16, 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old kids, right? They don't know how to look at that. They have to be, you got to take it, anytime you got is take advantage to meet with them and show them the film. You get better because you see yourself play. You don't get better, if you're standing by me or standing by your coach. You're not getting any better. You got to go out there and play, and then you got to see yourself play, right? Somehow you got to find time to see yourself play, and then the coach has to find time to explain the mistakes that you be making when you're watching yourself play. It's very hard to coach the guys and not get them, not because I've been spoiled, you know what I mean? So I try to find time to make them see themselves play. And especially the kids that are servicing the defense. Because in high school and college football, you got service teams. They take a team and they send it down to the defense. Right? They take a high school or second team offense. You go down to the first team defense. Second team defense, you're going to go down with the first team offense. Okay? Well, those kids that are playing on that first and the second teams, when do they get to see themselves? Right? Because they're meeting as an offense and the defense is meeting as a defense, and those guys that are number two never get to see themselves. So they have to understand that they need to find time to look at that tape. If you're the second team offensive lineman and you went down and you serviced the defense, well, you better go get that defensive locker, that defensive film thing, and you better sit down and watch yourself. Say, well, wow, I missed that guy. I was supposed to block that guy. Right? Oh, I'm taking a long footwork here. And it's really better if you have a coach with you to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think the success, not so much that the wins and losses that we had at Cleveland, but the success up front. We were 10th one year my first year there, and then we were number 2 the second year there, and now Callahan's got them to number 1. But we had a plan that those second team guys, they were going to look at that film with a coach, with my assistant. So when I left the room after I got done with the first group, right, then he took over with the second group, put the defensive film up there, and he went through what the right things and the wrong things they did with those guys and what they need to practice with. That's how they're going to get better. And then you got to take that to the field. I remember Coach Paul Brown used to say, gentlemen, you got to get it from the block to chalk. He's called the chalkboard. You got to get it from the chalkboard to the grass. You got to get it from the chalkboard to the grass. That's where it counts, on the grass. You got to be able to do that as a coach. Well, it's the same thing with the players. The players have got to take it from the chalkboard and get it to the grass and make it work.
With what you're saying there, Coach, the opportunity there, we talked about how important it was for coaches to practice the game planning process. Well, with those younger players, you also have younger coaches, your JV coaches on your staff, who normally take a back seat to talking players through the film and working on it. That's an art in itself, and being able to communicate what you're seeing and see those things and take that lead role and asking players questions. I mean, how do you get better at that as a coach? Well, take that opportunity to take those guys who are running scout team, take that practice film and go over it with them. I mean, I believe, in today's day and age, there's a way to get film. You take an iPad out, you take a phone, whatever it might be, there's a way to get film. You don't have to necessarily have the best end zone towers or people, positioned all over the field. There's a way to get film of what you're doing. And those players, you think about, it's not easy being a JV player, right? You think about that as growing up, when you being a JV player kind of sucked, except for Saturday mornings, right?
Yeah.
Everything's directed
Yeah.
towards the varsity. You don't, nobody's watching film with you, nobody's breaking it down, etc. But now you take that coach who's getting work now, those players are getting work, and now they feel more valuable in your program. So overall, the culture of the team is getting strengthened as well. I think there's just huge benefits to looking at it that way.
Right. And the more that player feels coached, right, the more he can see himself getting better. Just like you just mentioned, the more camaraderie, the more togetherness, the more cohesiveness, that all plays a part in it. You know, one heartbeat. You got 85, 90. I mean, I've been schools, they'll have 120 kids out there or more. I mean, they get players. There's some schools that have 4,000 kids. This used to drive me crazy. I said, why aren't we videoing that drill over there? Well, we don't have anybody to video it. There's 4,000 kids in the school.
Yeah.
You mean to tell me out of 4,000, you can't find a couple extra guys that are going to help out and spend 2 hours in an afternoon, video certain drills that you want video? They don't even need to stay there the whole practice. Just what do you need video? Video it, and they can go. So sometimes you got to go search, do a little extra work, and get those video guys are just as important as your left tackle. God, people don't understand that sometimes. Those guys are worth their weight in gold. I know in the NFL, you got good video guys. You don't know how that affects the coaches. Boy, it's really good. You know, I know when I was at the Browns, that staff in video was really, really good. And they got like 6 guys working in video, right? And if I have a problem in my meeting room, those guys are down there in less than a minute, 2 minutes. They're down there. They're fixing the problem. I can, pick up, like I got a number 1 on the speed dial in my meeting room. I pick up the phone and push the button and say, Rob, I got a problem. I can't get this video to go. We'll be right there, coach. Right? Thanks. Somebody shows up real quick. Right? So they're not going to leave the coaches without video. And when they leave at night, they go to every coach, right? And they go, everything okay? You guys have everything you need? Any problems? No. And then they always leave one guy in the building when the coaches are there. The rest of the guys can go home, but one guy stays, just in case you have a problem. High schools don't have that money. They don't have that way to hook up to do all that stuff.
Yeah, I agree. They don't. We've had coaches on the podcast, high school coaches, talk about building their operations team, which, for them consists of guys doing videos, social media, all those things. We even had one of those guys from high school in Connecticut. I believe he's in college now, and I think he's doing the same type of stuff in college. But this kid, man, I was so impressed with him because he ran the operations and he took ownership in it, had his own little team involved in. And I agree, there's kids in the school who would want to be a part of this. All you have to do is open the door. Certainly going to have a little bit of training for them. I'm sure, Coach, you've had those times in coaching the lower levels where somebody decides they're going to move the camera with the ball and you don't see what's happening with your guys, or guys are cut out of the video. I can't tell you how many times I've had to break down a film by where's the safety. I'm not sure. Well, where's his shadow, right? So shadow's showing up in the film, but there certainly is some training to it. But there's those people who will help you today, and it's easy. There's really no excuse, right? It's not like you have to go out and buy thousands of dollars worth of equipment to get it done. You have a lot of what you need just right there on a phone or an iPad.
Right. Another thing, in the off season, right, a lot of, there's 32 NFL teams, okay? Now, there's a lot of high schools. But if you're around an NFL team in the off season, those guys will help you out. You can call up those guys, right? The video guys, the trainers, right? Say, hey, can we come in and talk to you? And give us a help for it. And those guys would love to do that. If they got time, they love to share the information that they have with you, because that helps the community for them. Mm-hmm. You say, hey, look, I went over to the Patriots and those guys spent a couple hours with me, but I got some great ideas, right? And now you can start building your own little video department, Get them a room and get the computers set up in there and get the cameras and, you know what I mean? And there's, the NFL, I don't think people use it enough, okay? The NFL has grants that you can get from them for some money that you may need to do things. I mean, they've built turf fields for put up lights on fields, and they've done some really wonderful things across the country. And you could get some money to start your own little video department and have it just the way you want. Mm-hmm. And I'm really quite sure there's people that are into those video stuff, that those tech guys that like to work with computers and stuff. They would love to do that. Yep. You could have a whole team of them, like you were saying. You get the sideline done, you get end zones done. You can get each end zone. Like I think Kansas City does that. I'm not exactly sure. I think a lot of teams do it, but when you go to a game, they got cameras in each end zone. You get the offense and the defense when they cut up the film. So all I look at is the back of the offense.
Right.
I don't have to look through the back of the defense to see the offensive line, which is really good. There's ways to do that.
Well, there's ways to do it at the high school level within your own conference. I'll watch a high school game and see both guys, both teams' camera guys setting up in the same end zone. I mean, hey, a little communication with the other coach. Hey, why don't we set up opposite ends and we'll just exchange that game film. You'll be able to see from behind on both sides. I mean, just a little, working together with people. I mean, the game's already played. It's not like there's going to be an advantage in giving somebody else your film, et cetera. So, work those things out. I think there's a lot that we leave on the table and we take for granted and think it's only available to those highest levels, and we can do them. I mean, I learned early on film practice. I was doing it at the high school level, individual drills, and something that's come up time and time again here too. Individual drills when you're coaching them too, you got a chance if you got that audio on to critique yourself too. What are you saying? What are your coaching cues? Are you telling them the right things, et cetera? It's not only an opportunity for that player, the coach can get better as well.
Exactly. I know, watching some of the guys that I watch, if I'm telling a left tackle something, I learned early on in my career, I got to make sure that I say it loud enough, or I got to make sure that the right tackle comes over and he listens to what I'm telling a left tackle, because he's got to know that. I see more guys just walk up and talk to one person. You know what I mean? Well, the guy on the other side, the information they're giving that one guy, he may need that someday. He may need it that day. I coach this guy, but make sure the other guy gets the information. Get him around what you're telling them, or say it loud enough so they all can hear it, not just one guy. I remember at the Browns, I'm just going to give you because, we're up in Cleveland, okay? And Joe Thomas, I love him dearly. He's wonderful. And he's sitting in the meeting, the way my meeting rooms were set up, conference style. Right, so I got the center, right guard, left tackle, right tackle. And so then after that, they just fill in and around the table. Well, Joe was leaning over, and he was talking to one of the rookie tackles. And it was just he and the rookie tackle talking back and forth. And Joe's trying to help him. Right, so I stopped the meeting. I said, Joe, look, I don't mind you talking and helping the kid, but if we're going to do this, I want you to say it loud enough so everybody hears it. I want everybody in the room to hear you, okay? Because you've got information that you can give them, right, that maybe some of the other kids can use. So it's the same thing as a coach, right? If I'm talking to this guy, I got to make sure the other guys hear it, because they may need it, somewhere along the line. And you can see yourself in drill tapes. The other thing is, the guys that are doing it, don't request your drill to be videoed if, right, you're not going to watch it or you're not going to show it to the kids. Okay, don't do that. You're wasting that guy's time. Now, if you're going to take individual and you're going to watch it every day and you're going to show some of it to the players, fine. If you got individual shot and then you never watch it, that's bad. Don't put that video department through that, okay? Somebody else could use the camera in another drill some other place. That was always a little pet peeve for me. I mean, guys, you're getting all this stuff video. When do you have time to watch it? Because as coaches, we only have time to watch so much film. It's not like, we're restricted because we have to get film watched. So now we got to pick out what's important to us to show them. And I think this is for every coach out there, Players don't care how much you know, guys. They don't. They care how much you care. That's one of the pet peeves. But this is important. Listen to this and write it down. What you don't tell them is just as important as what you do tell them. That's just as important. Because if I try to give a young rookie tackle everything I know, I'm going to mess that kid up. I'm going to really mess that kid up. Because he don't need to know all that. He doesn't. He just needs to know what he needs to know for that day. So I can make him just a little bit better. If I try to make him Hall of Fame level in one day, I'm going to mess that kid up. So coaches, it's what you don't tell them that's just as important as what you do tell them. Now to get back to the original, the transition, how you transition over into the first game week, well, the guys in the pros have a lot of other things to worry about. They got to go find places to live. They got to move out of the hotel. A lot of guys are staying in a hotel now, right? The team's paying for them to stay on a hotel. Now all of a sudden the team stops paying. So now those other guys, they got to go transition. They got to go find apartments, condos. Maybe they're going to buy a house. You know, if you're a first-round draft pick and they paid you $35 million, they're probably going to be there a while. Okay, so you got to go out and start looking to buy a house someplace. And so you got those transitional things that the players have to go through. Plus, they're going through the time changes of how to meet and when they're meeting. That's different than when they were in training camp. Training camp, some days you got 2 practices. Well, you're not going to have that during the season.
Right.
You're only going to have 1. Okay, and only one of them is going to have pads on. That's another crazy thing. You got 14 days with pads. You got 17 games. Now, maybe they made it 15. No, I don't know. Okay, but when I was in there, you had 16 games, but you only could put the pads on 14 times. So they got all those transition days. Some teams will practice with no pads on Wednesdays because Wednesdays is when you get all the mistakes because you just put in the game plan. Now they're going to go onto the field. You're going to go through the walkthrough stuff, and then you're going to go practice it. And it always doesn't look good on Wednesdays. Wednesdays, it's ugly.
Yes.
And then Thursday, now they got time to study it on Wednesday nights. So on Thursdays, when the Thursday practice are always better, cleaner, sharper looking practices than the Wednesday practice. So I'm not so sure you don't put the pads on them on Thursday when it's going to look better with the pads on in the plays. Well, I don't know how many teams are doing that now, just keeping the pads on Wednesdays. I'm not sure about that. And then Friday, they have the whole game plan. That's your most important day, what you didn't get in training camp. Friday, you have everything. You have base runs, base passes. You have nickel runs, nickel passes. You have short yardage, red zone, goal line. You have tight red zone. You have the 2-minute offense. You have the 4-minute offense. There's a whole mess of things that you've got. Everything's in on Friday. So Friday afternoon, what you didn't have in training camp is a transition because that's for the offensive line. That's when those guys get together as a group and they stay in there. They go down to the cafeteria. They bring their food in, any snacks that they want. And now they start from page 1 and they go through. Hey, this is the first run. That's what we're running against. This is what I'm going to do. Right? And you got somebody, usually it's the center. Like I had Joe Thomas, which he did it. Then J.C. Tritter did it. And they would go through the whole game plan. They'd spend 2 hours in there going through the game plan, making sure that they were on the same page on what they saw. They didn't have that in training camp. That's a transition that they have to go through to learn how to do that. The transition, when we started the conversation, should have started a week, maybe more, before they get to the game week.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's a little easier to transition because the number of plays that they gave you in training camp is cut down drastically for the game. Remember, they're putting the whole offense in. They're putting the whole offense in training camp. They're going to try to get it in there somehow. Whether that's right or wrong, that's what they do. So now, that book is 3 or 4 inches thick, all that stuff that's in that thing, right? Right. So now when you get to game week, they're not going to know. They're going to just pick out plays that they think or they feel are going to put their offense, get their strongest guy on the other team's weakest defender and attack it that way. Or they may say, hey, we're going to run into the boundary this way. There's no boundaries because it's an even field. But we're going to run to the one technique, or we're going to run to the three, or we're going to run away from the safety. But if we got a fullback in the game, we can run to the safety because we got a blocker for them. They're going to. So they narrow stuff down, fewer plays, but they give you the specifics of what they're trying to do. I think that process needs to stop before you actually get to the game week.
Yeah.
Okay? But in game week, the process, the times are different, the meeting times are different, the practices are a little different, because now you're doing specifically the details that need to go into the play so you can execute it properly on game day. Coach Brown used to say, it's not the plays, guys. Guys, it's not the plays. It's the detail that you put into the play that makes the play work. It's not that you're going to run an inside zone play. Everybody in the National Football League runs an inside zone play. They all do that. It's not the play. It's the detail that you coach into running that play, whether it's the formations, motion shifts, whether it's the depth of the back, whether it's the lineman splits, whether they're in the gun or under the center. I mean, all the little details have to go in so you can run that play properly. It's not that, hey, we're going to run the inside zone plays. We used to call it 16. We're going to run 16. Yeah, well, I got news for you. Right? There's 31 other teams that are running 16 also. Who coaches it the best?
Coach, I certainly enjoyed the conversation here, and as we talked about, we're going to visit throughout the season here and talk some ball and talk about some things that coaches could use in season and learn and keep growing during the season. It's not a time that you just step away from that. It's always an opportunity to learn and grow as a coach too. So we'll continue this conversation, and I certainly appreciate your time.
Oh, I enjoy it. I really enjoy sharing information. What coaches, I think, sometimes forget. Somebody helped me. I spent 36 plus years in pro football between the NFL and the CFL. I didn't get there by myself. I started coaching Pop Warner football and junior high school football and high school football and college football. Somebody helped me every step of the way. I needed somebody to go to and talk football with. I needed to go to the clinics. I need to visit other high schools, right? I need to talk to other coaches. I need to go to different colleges and visit and go to different clinics. And then when I got to pro football, very few people, but the offensive line coaches, we talk all the time because we had nobody else to talk to but ourselves. So there's only 32 of us. So we share ideas. The only thing we don't tell each other is what? We're not going to tell you what the audible system is. We're not going to tell you what the snap counts are. We're not going to give you any of that stuff. But we'll exchange ideas on how to run 16. Do we want to go flat? Do we want to go take a lead step? Do we need a high leg in it? The different way we're going to leave the line of scrimmage versus what we see where the defender lines up. There's no secrets there. That's why you talk about the Cool Clinic. Every Cool Clinic, what we got one coach. We had almost 800 coaches one year, right? Then we had 600 coaches. In person, you get 400 or better. Right there, they're exchanging ideas. We're the only position that does that. No other position does that. So if you want to get better, I got this quote from Jerry Rice. You want to get a little better? Because when I was with the Bears, we played the 49ers. So I get dressed early. I go down to the field, and I talk to my buddies that coach at the 49ers. Right? And I go around and I pick out some players to talk to from the other team. Okay, so I call up Jerry Rice. Right? And I said, Jerry. I said, when he said, hey, Coach, how you doing? He's a real nice guy. I said, when this is all said and done, you're going to be one of the premier players ever to play the spot. You'll probably be in a Hall of Fame first ballot. All those things that you've accomplished. How do you prepare yourself? What's your thought process that you go through? And he looked at me and he said, Coach, you want to get a little better? Work a little harder. Not only for a player, but the coaches have to do the same thing. You want to get a little better as a coach? Well, then you better work a little harder at it. Players, you guys want to get a little better? Then work a little harder. Stay after practice. Take 10 more pass sets. It's not going to kill you. You know what I mean? But it's going to make you better. You know, coach, spend another hour looking at film. Pick the phone up and talk football with somebody on the other side of the country, right? You know, if you want to get better, work a little harder.
Absolutely.
It's not rocket science. It's pretty simple. You just got to have the passion and the want to get it done.
Yep, great stuff, Coach. And as always, great talking with you. And we'll chat again next week.
All right, Keith. I appreciate it. Have a good day.
Be sure to check out the Cool Clinic channel on CoachTube. It's at coachtube.com/coolclinic. I'll put the link in the show notes. Check out our playlist with all speakers from the past Cool Clinic. And a new course was released from the clinic. If you did not see the clinic, but you're looking for answers for sims, creepers, fire zones, Kyle Caskey covered it in detail. It's an excellent one, and it's all chaptered for you. The day of the DVD is over. We always get questions, are you going to have the DVDs? Everything's over on CoachTube digitally, and you're going to find here soon, there'll be more. All the past Cool Clinics, all those DVDs have been digitized, and you'll be able to find those on CoachTube as well in the Cool Clinic membership. More news coming on that soon. Good luck this week, and we'll talk to you next week on the Mushroom Society series on the Coaching Coordinator Podcast.